All right, today we're going to talk about a super simple but honestly life-changing tool for just crushing procrastination. It's called the 2-minute rule, and believe me, it might just be the key to building some serious, unstoppable momentum in your life.
I mean, it's a weird paradox when you really think about it, isn't it? We let these tiny, little tasks, like answering a quick email or just rinsing a dish, pile up and up. We put them off, and suddenly that little molehill of tasks feels like a huge mountain of stress. So let's dig into why that happens and, way more importantly, how we can actually stop it.
Okay, so first up, we've got to understand the enemy here, the procrastination paradox. You know what I'm talking about, that super frustrating, totally universal feeling of putting things off. Understanding this is what's going to set the stage for why the solution we're talking about is so dang effective.
So here's what's really going on under the hood. Every single time you say, I'll do it later, to some tiny task, you're not just pushing the action off, you're actually adding another item to this running to-do list inside your brain. And that mental clutter, well, it just sucks your energy dry. Before you know it, that long list of tiny things feels just as heavy and overwhelming as one massive project.
But what if I told you the key to breaking this cycle was, well, incredibly simple, because it is. And it all starts with the original idea that got this whole thing rolling.
Okay, so this is where it all began. A guy named David Allen, a big name in productivity, came up with this. And his rule, it's genius in its simplicity. If an action, any action, is going to take less than 2 minutes to do, you do it right now. Not later, no scheduling it, no delaying it, you just do it.
And the immediate payoff? Well, it's exactly what the productivity consultant Debbie Rosemont is talking about right here. It's all about clearing your head. Every tiny little task you knock out is one less thing squatting in your brain, taking up valuable mental real estate. It's an instant win, and it puts you right back in the driver's seat.
Okay, now this is where things get really, really interesting. Allen's rule is amazing for clearing out all that existing clutter. But what if you want to build something new? What about creating a new habit, like exercising, or reading more, or learning a new skill? For that to happen, the rule needed an upgrade. It had to evolve.
And here is that crucial evolution, right on the screen. See, David Allen's rule is all about finishing those small tasks, right now. But James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, he took that idea and flipped it. He adapted it for starting big habits. His version says that any new habit you want to build should be shrunk down into a tiny 2-minute first step. So think of it like this. One rule is for clearing the deck, and the other is for setting sail. So why does this little tweak work so well? I mean, what's the big deal about just starting? Well, let's get into the psychology of it. We're moving from the what to the why. This thing is so powerful.
Okay, this right here, this is the absolute magic of the adapted 2-minute rule. The point is not really about reading that one page or doing one push-up. The real point is to master the habit of showing up. It's about beating that initial resistance, that friction that keeps you glued to the couch. You're making the act of starting so ridiculously easy that you just can't say no. You're becoming a master of just showing up.
I mean, think about how this totally rewires your brain. For starters, it lowers the barrier to entry so much that the classic excuse, "I just don't have time," is completely off the table. Then, that tiny action becomes what's called a gateway habit. It's like a little doorway that naturally leads you onto a more productive path. And here's the best part. Once you've started, momentum is on your side. It's actually easier to keep going than it is to stop.
Let's make this super concrete with a classic example from James Clear himself. Let's say your huge goal is to run a marathon. That's a big deal. But your habit is not run a marathon. Your new habit is simply to put on my running shoes. That's it. That's the 2-minute action. I mean, anyone can do that, right? And here's the thing. Once your shoes are on, well, you might as well go for a little walk, And that little walk, it might just turn into a run.
All right, enough theory. Let's get super practical. How can you actually start using both versions of this rule in your day-to-day life? Here's your quick start toolkit to put this into action, like right now.
Okay, so for David Allen's version, think about all those little nagging tasks that just hang around. You know that email you've been avoiding? If you can answer it in less than 2 minutes, just send it. That plate you just finished eating off of, go wash it, right now. These tiny immediate actions are your best defense against that avalanche of clutter that's just waiting to build up later.
And for James Clear's version, it is all about finding that gateway. Do 30 minutes of yoga feels like a big commitment, right? But take out my yoga mat? That's totally effortless. Study for class sounds heavy. Open my notes? Super simple. See what's happening? You're not committing to the whole shebang. You were just committing to the first 2 minutes.
And the crazy thing is, the rest just kind of follows.
Okay, but a quick word of caution here. Before you run off and start applying this to absolutely everything, it is really important to understand the context. This rule is a fantastic tool for sure, but it is not a magic bullet for every single thing on your to-do list.
The absolute key here is knowing the difference between deep work and, well, those 2-minute tasks. Deep work is when you're in the zone, totally focused on a complex project. If you stop that flow to answer a quick email, you can completely derail your focus. And studies have shown this over and over. Constant interruptions absolutely tank the quality of your work. So you gotta be smart. Save the 2-minute rule for those in-between moments or for clearing out all that admin clutter before you dive in.
And definitely watch out for these common traps. First, let's be honest, we are all terrible at guessing how long things will take. So be realistic about whether a task is actually a 2-minute job. Second, you have to be ruthless about protecting your deep work time. Build a wall around it and don't let these little tasks sneak in. And finally, this is not, I repeat, not an excuse to multitask. Give that one small thing your complete focus for those 2 minutes and then move on.
This brings us to what I think is the most powerful part of this whole idea. Because this isn't just about productivity hacks and to-do lists. This is actually a tool for reshaping who you are, your very identity.
And James Clear puts this so perfectly. He says that every action you take is like casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. Think about that. Every time you put on your running shoes, you're casting a vote that says, I'm a runner. Every time you read just one page, you cast a vote for, I'm a reader. These small wins, they're not just about checking a box. They're tiny little proofs to yourself about the identity you're building.
And that right there is the ultimate mind shift. You stop obsessing over the finish line, like getting in shape, and you start focusing on becoming the kind of person who just doesn't miss workouts. This rule helps you build that core identity, the identity of someone who shows up, someone who takes action, someone who starts.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. The next 2 minutes are going to pass no matter what. They're just going to tick by. You can use them to scroll on your phone, or you can use them to take one tiny action, to cast one small vote for the person you wish to become. The choice is entirely yours. So who are you going to choose to be when they're over?